I've made a few casseroles in the past, but we're not really big fans of casseroles, so we just eat the leftovers until for a day or two, and then we'll make soup, and that's pretty much it. So we're gonna have a lot of turkey in our turkey soup this year, that is for sure. I had to cut this up to get it to fit inside of this pot. If I was using a bigger pot, I just would have put the whole bird in it. And now I'm going to put it down in here nicely, and I'm going to fill it about half full, no, 3/4 full of water. Many years at Thanksgiving, as soon as we're done eating, and we'll take and pull all the meat off of the carcass, and then we'll right away put the carcass in a pot and put it on the back burner of the stove and start our soup then, because it's just easier to take care of the bird then. But I was a little tired this year and I didn't want to clean off the bird, and I just wrapped it in aluminum foil and I put it in the refrigerator for a few days, and now I'm going to take care of it. The next thing you're going to want to do is chop up 2 onions and add to the stock pot. I know I've told you this before, but if you want to cut an onion without crying, cut a ring around that flower end of the onion. And peel that off. And it really does work. When I don't do it, I tear up. And when I remember to do that with my onion, I don't have any tears. And I don't have any tears. It works every single time. Our family likes a lot of onion and a lot of celery. I've added the onion, but I'm going to chop up my celery, and I'm going to wait for a little while because I don't want that celery to cook as long as the onions do. I don't want it to become too mushy, but I want the onions to cook along with the chicken and the bones for a long time. I'm also going to prepare a good amount of carrots because we love carrots in our soup. I've always felt like if I can keep the basics in my refrigerator, milk, eggs, butter, celery, carrots, a bag of onions, a bag of potatoes, a bag of flour, we can have a pretty good meal. I want to tell you that making soup is not a science. It is really, you feel it. And the more soup that you make, the easier it is to make a pot of soup. You really just get a feel for it. You just know when those vegetables are ready, and you know when it's time to take the chicken out of the pot, because the meat starts falling off of the bone, and just things like that. The more you make soup, the better you're going to get at it, I promise you. And it's just so cheap to make, and it just feeds so many people. So if you haven't been a soup maker, I hope that this will help encourage you to do so. The recipe for this soup, and I don't even think I'm following it exactly, because I never follow my recipes exactly. They're always different. But this is the homemade chicken noodle soup right here. And then this is how I make my egg noodles. I'll show you the process here in a minute. But this is the recipe for it, my homemade egg noodles. And that's the ingredients that you need for this. And you can find all of these recipes in the Griffiths family cookbook, and it is available as an ebook. We only have them available as an ebook version, and you can download those, and it's at griffithscookbook.com. The homemade egg noodles call for 2 cups of flour and a teaspoon of salt. Calls for 3 egg yolks and 1 whole egg. Just mix your flour and the egg together. And then a little at a time, add 2/3 cup of water. The next thing you're going to want to do is put some flour on your counter and roll out the noodles, the noodle dough. And I wish I wouldn't have put quite as much water in it. I should have stopped. It's pretty sticky, but it'll be okay because we're gonna mix in this flour. Well, we're not mixing it in, but we're gonna put so much flour down on the surface and turn it over a time or two that it'll be okay. They will be tender, that's for sure. Now I'm just going to let this sit here and dry out for a little while, clean up a little bit, and then I'm going to come back and we'll cut these into strips and we're going to let those dry too. If you don't have time to let them dry, you can cook them, but I like to let them dry. If they are, how do I put this? If you put them into the pot of water right now, they will swell up and they get bigger, a lot bigger. If you let them dry out and then you put them into the water, they have a little slicker texture to them. And either way, it's good. It's fine. Okay, I have to tell you what I just did. I went to, these have been drying for a little while. I mean, like an hour. I went to cut them into strips, and I could tell they were just not going to come up from the surface. They were sticking. And I just took my hand and I went like this and I got it all together in a ball again and I rolled it out. I mixed a little more flour in it and I rolled it out again, and I didn't show you because my hands were all covered in dough and I didn't want to wash them and go turn on the camera again, and I just like bag it. So if that happens to you, it's because you added a little too much water with your flour like I did, and it just was too sticky. But this is going to work this time. And I'm going to cut this very gently on my counter. I'm not hurting my counter at all. And I will go across. Let's see, how do I want to do this? So you can see it. And I'll just take these noodles and I will separate them on my counter and let them continue drying out. let that cool off for a while. I'm going to add my celery and the carrots. And I could have added those before I took the chicken out if I had had a big enough pot, but it's just, or the turkey, but it's just easier for me to take that out and then add these vegetables. I'll turn the heat up a little bit and let these vegetables cook down in here for a while until they get tender, and then I will add my noodles to this and cook them. I'm just going through this chicken and separating the bones, making sure there's no bones in the meat that's going in the, that piece has a lot of bones in it. And I just fill it and put my meat that's going to go in the pot here and my bones that are going to go in the garbage there. And it's been sitting out long enough to cool off so I can handle it. I've got my meat here ready to go back in the pot. The vegetables are pretty much done, and now I'm going to add the noodles. My cameraman stepped in here to help me, and I'm really happy. Thank you, Chad.
My pleasure.
Okay, so you can follow me over to the stove and we'll just add these noodles. It's so much easier to have you around. Sometimes they get stuck together. Just separate them as you're dropping them in the pot.
Careful, that knife is sharp.
Yep. Yep. And the flour that's on your hands and the flour that's on the noodles just thickens it up. One thing that we didn't talk about was seasoning. So far I haven't added any salt. I haven't checked it, but when I get done doing this, I'll show you some seasoning to put in it. I don't think it needed a lot because there was quite a bit on the turkey itself. A lot of, just season it to taste. Salt it how you like it, and add some poultry seasoning and some sage if you want. Pepper. I know I still need to put some pepper in this. And you don't have to use all of the noodles, just use, I could have made a lot bigger pot with this, but it's just Chad and I, we don't need that much. It's hard to cook for 2 people. We'll eat this for a week. I'm going to add a few more noodles and then I'm going to put my turkey in it. The noodles take about 10-15 minutes to cook, and I'm going to turn that up and let them cook, and then I'll add the turkey to it. So just salt and pepper this to taste, probably a teaspoon or so of pepper. Well, it started out light outside when I was making this soup, and you can see that it's now dark outside, and we're going to sit down and have a yummy supper. And it's been fun to teach you how to make this soup. Don't be intimidated by making soup. Just put it in the pot and turn it on, and it will turn out. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
It tastes like it does every year, and that's good. The thing I like about the soup is the noodles. That's my favorite part of the soup, is the homemade noodles. They're called egg noodles, is that right?
Yeah, yeah.
I just love that part of them. I don't know why, but it's just really good. That and the rolls that go with it. Thanks.